Blackhawk, Zentz Prod. Nice to have you on. Can you just introduce yourself for everybody and just tell us how long you've been a part of the community for?
Yeah, Jordan Zentz, play under the gamertag VA Blackhawk, edit under Zentz Productions, did a rebrand somewhere around like 2009 to separate the two. I have been part of the community since I think November 2005 is when I joined Halo 2 forum, so it's been it's been a while.
Wow. And how did you get started with editing, and what initially inspired you to create Halo montages?
I think one of my buddies in high school had showed me is either Halo God or it was Rippon's montage. And I was like, oh, you can record yourself playing? Like, that's cool. And then I remember joining the forum and started watching more videos, and I eventually got a capture card for Christmas, and kind of took off from there.
Do you remember the name of the capture card by any chance?
It was the Dazzle. I had
The
funny enough,
DVD, right?
yeah, my parents got me the 150, and I remember being like, no, I need the 90 because that's what all the diagrams had, not realizing that the 150 was actually the better version. So they sent it back. They sent it back and got me a 90. They found out years later. I was like, oh.
I started with the 90 as well.
Yeah.
Making SD montages was nice, man.
Yeah, it was a big upgrade when I went from like the regular cables to S video, because it had the S video plug in it, where it made it like a little bit better looking.
Okay. I don't remember too much of back then that much. Yeah.
It's so funny though. I think everyone had a Dazzle. You'd always know if they were using one because it had that little green bar at the bottom of the video.
That is what everybody had. I'm pretty sure like all the diagrams down there in THF or the Halo 2 forums at the time had the walkthroughs with the Dazzle 90.
Yeah, so Dazzle had the Halo 2 community cornered, the market cornered.
Absolutely. They had a what's it called? The entire market. What was your first Halo montage, and how do you feel about it when you look back at it now? You showed me your first Halo montage. I was really impressed, man, because you showed right from the start that you don't have a good understanding of like flow, the basics of syncing, all that stuff naturally.
Yeah, so it's what Blackhawk Montage 1, really creative title. I was released in I think late 2005, early 2006. I look back at it with nostalgia. I try to look past, like, obviously it's your first video. It's not going to be very good when you stack it up against like your modern stuff, but I kind of look back at it fondness. Like I still remember the experience, like sitting down and learning how to edit, like showing my dad. He was like, I don't understand what you're showing me, but like it was cool. It's one of those things that I'd probably want to go back and redo. I wish I had the footage still, but like that's one of those videos that I love the song that I used. I got dragged on the forum when I first released that because Oscar Mayer Ninja had released a video using the same song, and it was much better. And everyone's like, "Oh, you just copied him," and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I absolutely stole the audio of this video. Probably why it flows as well as it does is I'm pretty sure I was like watching his video while I was editing. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to copy that.
So what inspired you initially to start creating montages?
It was, I've always had like a art background of sorts, like in school, always drawn to like, I don't know, drawing. And I just remember video being something I was always interested in. Didn't have the means to do like real life video, and I think this kind of became the next best thing. It kind of blended two worlds that I loved. But it was really like a lot of the Counter-Strike montages, or Frag videos rather, in some Quake videos are like really what started getting my interest into it. And then when I realized the Halo had a community like that, I think that's really what started to kind of put me into that world and that mindset of like, as I'm playing, thinking about making a video out of my gameplay.
Interesting. A lot of editors are citing Counter-Strike and we were you the first one to cite Quake, but Counter-Strike as inspiration for starting or for getting ideas from.
Yeah, I think Counter-Strike just their videos are so good, man. Like even like the modern stuff is phenomenal. Like I know they have a bunch of editing tools, but even back in mid 2000s, they were doing 3D and a bunch of stuff that I hadn't seen the Halo community doing. But yeah, I think Awoken Eyes was like the video with Counter-Strike. If you watch Insomnia, which was my second video, I ripped like the intro screen out of it and put like a flare over top of it, like recolored it. But I stole a bunch from that video. And I think it was Jaeger was the other Counter-Strike editor that I borrowed a lot of ideas from early on.
Now, are you familiar with the CS montage Eve? Yeah, Eve, I believe it's called.
It sounds familiar. I'd have to see it to like jog my memory.
So I know a lot of older guys, they tend to cite that montage. I know Zola cited it as inspiration, and I don't know if you remember Kindred.
I do remember Kindred, yeah.
So I learned how to sync and everything from his little syncing manual, his Frag manual. It's like a 4-page like document or something, but that's how I learned how to sync basically, or get the flow.
Nice. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of parallels between Counter-Strike and early Halo 2.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if Counter-Strike has any glitches like Halo, but
No, gameplay wise, they couldn't be further apart. But I think like some of the editing, I just pulled Eve up. I'm kind of watching it while we're talking. Yeah, I have seen this, and it's a lot of I think effects, like some of the emotion effects, some of the glows. Like I feel like a lot of people borrowed from this video for sure.
yeah, it's an awesome video. It uses the artist BT, Brian Trezal, and
Okay.
yeah, I remember I was like super inspired by that artist to make videos and stuff. But I want to move on to the next question here. It is were there any editors or montages from the Halo community that inspired you when you were first starting out?
Yeah, I think my biggest influence was Housered starting out. The Talent Under the Influence montage was my favorite one for the longest time. And then obviously there's some of the obvious ones like Kiwi, Prettiest Film, Simplex. I think Shook One, Zola. I think everyone named Zola as one of their influences. But some of the other ones that I think probably don't get talked about as much anymore is like QSK King, ATX Studios. They did KFOS 1v1 montage. Ghoster, who did Doodle Pop's problematic video. And I think later on, probably not as early of an influence, but as like we got into like probably what 2008, 2009, maybe 2010, Obscure Terror, Furion, Muggsy, Haunts. Like there's a couple of other guys that really started paying attention to, and I kind of borrowed some stuff from.
Oh yeah, all those guys you named are absolute legends.
Yeah, incredible editors. I don't know. I look at like my influences in 3 different time periods. Like there's early on, I think there's kind of the return when MCC came out, and then I think there's like now. If I were like the bucket, like who influences me?
I'll add this. I didn't know you had been a part of the community for so long. I thought you were more of a newer editor because your stuff is so like prime, it's so primed. And well, basically I was watching Tweaks the Riot and he gets a clip on you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? That's being a Blackhawk? Wait, hold on a sec.
Yeah, I used to play with Tweak all the time. I kind of rolled around in the 1v1, like if you call it a community or a group or whatever. So like Reed, Cranium, Silent Tactics, KFOS. I actually edited, I don't know if you know this, I edited Cranium and Silent Tactics 1v1 montages.
Oh, cool. I don't really I'm sorry, I don't really remember them like that.
No,
Uh,
it's that I feel like they probably got overshadowed by like Furion's reads and I think K Foss video, but yeah, definitely been around for a while. I took a break though. I went away when I went to college, so like from 2009 to 2014. I'd
gotcha.
stepped away and then I came back when MCC uh kind of launched.
Okay. Next question is what challenges did you face as a beginner and how did you overcome them?
I think in the beginning it was just the overwhelming thought of learning the program. Uh, I mean, you've been in editing programs. You open that thing up and you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at. It
Yeah.
looks like a different language.
Um,
So that that was probably the biggest challenge. I think the other thing is like you have a vision in your head of what you want to execute, and like not having the skills to do it
yeah.
can be really frustrating when you're starting out.
Now, how did you learn to edit? Did you learn from like a tutorial by like USK King or Furion, or did you just find it on YouTube? I'm just curious.
How did I learn? I think it was a combination of, was it creativecow.com and Video Copilot was
Oh
like
my
you I
God, creativecow.com. That
yeah.
damn.
So those two websites and then had a couple of guys I played with who were editing at the time. And I think they had like showed me some stuff, like some basics, like keyframing and like that type of stuff.
Okay.
And then the rest of it's just kind of trial and error. I mean, you saw the first video and what that was. That's pretty much it was that was literally just putting clips
You
and like
you've come such a long way to see like
it's just
Hurricane and Stormy V2's montage intro from
yeah.
that intro to that is like, whoa.
Yeah, my first video is just a bunch of like blend transitions and
But it was still pretty good. You could tell you had a good understanding of the fundamentals there.
yeah. But it just honestly starting out, I think what helped me overcome like the initial um I guess the overwhelming uh
Like the learning curve?
idea. Yeah, the learning curve. Yeah, exactly. I think it was just making a bunch of videos. So like the first one I did took me a week and then I started doing what at the time was like a popular thing was like mini tages. So like your leftover clips. So I started compiling a bunch of videos that I would edit like 2 or 3 days at a time. And the forum that we had, right? Like you could drop a video, people would give you feedback on it, what they liked, what they didn't like. So
Yeah.
for me, it was kind of accelerated because I was able to drop like, I don't know, 6 or 7 videos within like a month or 2 months. And then
Oh,
you're just getting
wow.
constant feedback from people. You're not spending a lot of time on it. Like you pick one, a 1 or 2 minute video that you're just practicing a couple effects or a couple of ideas.
Right,
Uh,
gotcha.
but yeah, I think the biggest thing for people starting out is like just the repetition. Just make something, release it, make something else, release it, make something else, release it. You start learning what's good and what isn't as you
Absolutely.
practice more.
And you get the feedback from the people too, and you have projects and you keep adding to your repertoire and absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, pick something new to learn every time.
This is the last question of section one is just wrapping things up. How long have you been a montage artist for? I know you mentioned you started 2005, so like 20 years.
Yeah, I think it's what, 19 and a half years. If you subtract the what, 5 years I took a hiatus, that's maybe 15 years, but
Yeah, that's
yeah,
incredible.
it's been a while.
We're moving on to the next section, creative process and techniques. How do you go about selecting the right footage for a video? And also, what's your process for selecting audio?
Video, I'm assuming you mean like clips, like how do you
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
what clips you're using? If it's a personal project, I think I'm a little bit more strict with like how I approach it. Because usually I'm thinking of a theme or some sort of idea for the video, and I want clips that play into that. It's like for Reunion 2, like using that as an example, like we knew that was going to be a big group video, and it was going to be everyone kind of had a role to play. Like Titanium was the stick guy, Doodle and myself were more the competitive players. Furion and Hable were more social players. So really the clip selection of what I'd pick that they submitted to me was really based on what highlights their strengths. If I'm doing a more client focused edit for someone specifically, like really what I do is I have them force rank their clips. So C, B, A, and S, so they'll rank their top 5 or top 10 clips. And then what I normally do is I'll actually edit the last song first, and I'll use the best clips for that. And then I'll go back and edit the first song or the beginning part of the video and use the rest of the clips.
Ah, that's really cool. And your process for picking out audio?
Yeah, audio is, again, if it's a client edit, I really defer to them. So I know there's some editors that want full creative control over the music and what they're editing to. But if I'm editing for someone, I'm making it for them, and I give them pretty much the final say in what they'll pick for music. I'll make suggestions if there's a category or a genre that they like, and I might have songs in my back pocket I think would work, but really give them full creative control unless it's a song that I just know like it's not going to work.
Gotcha.
People are going to hate it. If it's a personal video, I usually try to find something that's going to challenge me. Something that I haven't edited to before, or something that has a certain level of difficulty, if you will, that I have to spend a little bit more time thinking about.
I think you're really going to like this question. How would you describe the visualizations you experience when you hear a song you want to edit to? So I know I mentioned this in the other podcast that a lot of us experience kind of like visuals in our head when we hear a certain music that gets us kind of interested in editing. And you're like a master of the flow. Like that Ride It 2 montage, I can only imagine you must have been able to see that entire song in your head, because it's perfect. The composition is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I definitely, when I'm like riding around in the car, that's where I do a lot of my listening to music that I think I might edit to. I also I'll throw playlists on that shuffle and try and find new music. But when you find a song, you're like, oh, this could be in a video, and you start visualizing sections of the video. Like I've probably done that with like thousands of songs that will never come to fruition. I'll never actually put on the timeline, but I think it's a big part of my process. That's like when I'm in the music selection phase and I have a couple of songs in mind, like they'll be on repeat in my car as I'm driving around. Like if I can visualize it from start to finish, or like kind of get an idea of what I want to do with it, then it'll stay at the top of the list. If it's a song that after a few listens, I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah.
I kind of remove it from the playlist.
And when you approach a new project, what's the first thing you do?
I usually delay it because it's going to take me a while. So I'm a really slow editor at times.
That's
no,
that's not a bad thing.
No, it depends on who you'd ask. I got a couple people I'm editing for right now that they're checking their watch every few minutes, saying, "Hey, what's going on?" But no, I think when I approach a new project, I set up folders. So I try to organize my timeline. It falls off track about halfway through the video, but at least when I start the project, I try this. And I'll organize it with like a clips folder, a angles folder, music, sound effects, and then After Effects renders. And really when I'm putting my timeline together, it's the music layer first, and then I do gun audio, so I do sniper sounds at like the major sync points to really map out the song and how I think it's going to flow. So before I even put footage down, I have essentially an audio sync that I've already put to it, at least with like the major sync ports.
Interesting. How long does it typically take you to finish a project?
If it's a smaller video like Ryda's, like maybe a week or two.
You did that in a week?
Yeah, I think I did that in maybe 2 weeks, week and a half, maybe.
Wow.
It really depends on the sync. Like if it's a pretty straightforward song where I'm not doing too much complex, like Ryda's was easy because it was all sniper clips, right? There wasn't a lot of like oh, I have to think about how to incorporate VR clips and sword clips and like,
Yeah, that's true.
there's not a ton of variety. So then you're like, okay, cool. I just have to sync the sniper. And that one came together pretty quickly. If it's a larger video, if it's like 2 or 3 songs, it's one of these like 12 or 15-minute long videos, like that takes me a while. That's going to be probably like 6 to 8 months, maybe longer. And part of that's because like I'll edit a song and I'll take a break for a month or two, or, then come back to it. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take on a large project and I'll supplement with like smaller projects like Ridas in between. So when I hit those creative walls with the big project, I'll jump over to the small one and just kind of knock that out to get some momentum going again.
That's just how you deal with the burnout.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It also, like, the smaller projects allows you to experiment a little bit too. Because it's not, I don't know. I feel like people aren't as critical as like the big project, like an anticipated big release. Like,
yeah, there's a lot more variables in a bigger project than a smaller one.
mhm.
Um, what softwares and tools do you use?
So I'm currently using the Adobe suite, so Premiere, After Effects. Mainly the two that I stick to.
Okay.
Used Vegas early on, and then I recently purchased DaVinci. Zetruchio bullied me into trying to switch into that. And, him and Execrated are like sitting down and trying to show me how to use it. I haven't committed to it yet, but that's probably gonna make the switch at some point because Adobe keeps upping their rates. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And they keep like sending random updates that like break the software.
Oh man, I've stopped updating. So like I think I'm using the 2024 version, like early 2024 of Premiere. And I won't update to 25 until 2026's version releases. So I wait a whole year. So I'm a year lagging with my updates.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I've had too many issues where I've updated the program and it like breaks a timeline or project. So I've stopped doing that.
Oh yeah, I feel you on that. What are your favorite tools, plugins, or techniques to use in your editing workflow?
I like the Sapphire suites, the BCC suite. I use those in Premiere. I think in After Effects, it's still some of the Video Copilot stuff I have on here. Element 3D is a big one that I love for like a lot of text, like Delta's text. I use that tool for that. Track code. I think it's probably the Magic Bullet. That's a big one as well. I use that for my color.
Shout outs to Video Copilot, man.
Yeah.
Still in the game till today.
Still influencing, still part of Halo montage
Ginger
culture.
Kramer, man.
Yeah, dude, he's the goat.
Do you ever draw inspiration? I know you mentioned this already in the previous section. This is another question on here. Do you ever draw inspiration from outside of gaming, and where do you find yourself drawing inspiration from?
Movies, TV. I kind of am in that mindset. You see something cool done in a video, whether it be an anime or a TV show, a cartoon. Like if there's a cool idea, I think that I note it and experiment with it. Like trying to think of an example. Like so, the Umbrella Academy, that little teleport jump that I forget the character's name, 5 maybe. He does that little teleport jump. That was an effect in The Void. So to show the transition of a continuation of a clip, we did a teleport from like one part of the map to the other to keep the clip going. So
Oh, that's so neat.
yeah, there's inspiration out there. It's I'd say I think more of my inspiration probably comes from other gaming communities, like the Call of Duty community more recently. There's a guy named Kaiser that does like modern.
Oh yeah,
Maybe that is.
Kaiser's videos, man.
Yeah. So that I've watched those. There's some like Counter-Strike, like Mr. Sparkles did that Counter-Strike contest maybe a year or two ago, and some of the projects that were submitted to that are absolutely insane.
That was a what? Yeah,
Ideas.
$15,000 prize.
Insane. Yeah, absolutely insane.
Can you share a specific scene or moment from one of your videos that you're particularly proud?
I think it's a section of the reunion too. So I think it's the last song. It's a faster breakbeat. Uh, it's a type of song that I don't normally edit to. I think I kind of fell into I don't call it a pigeonhole, but essentially like there was a stigma that I only edited to like rock music because a lot of the projects I was taking on for a while, everyone that I was editing for just wanted rock songs. So with the reunion too, since I had full creative control over the soundtrack, I wanted to pick songs that, as I mentioned earlier, like that challenged me. And I personally think I did a really good job on that fourth section. I'm really proud of that and how it turned out.
That video was amazing, then.
Yeah, it was a fun one to make. That one took a while.
How long did that take?
Man, that I think it took like almost maybe 14 months, 15 months.
Wow.
Part of that's because we were waiting on Troop to finish his one song for about 7 months of it, but we won't spend too much time talking about that.
Gotcha. What's the most satisfying part of the Halo montage movie making process, excluding the completion of the project?
The most rewarding part. I think it's the process of putting a section together that like when you're coming into it, you're not quite sure how you're going to make it work. I don't know if you experience this when you're editing. Like there's parts of songs, like you'll pick a song and you're like, oh, cool, I love 80% of the song. And there's a section in there, you're like, I just have to get through this section to get to the next part.
Yeah, like, how am I going to figure this out?
Yeah, and it's making like I think the satisfying part is like getting through those sections without it feeling like you phoned it in. So and sometimes I find those sections are where you could be like super creative in the video because it breaks away from like the rhythm that you've already established, so you can kind of do something unique. I've always find that part rewarding and cool when you're working on the video.
That's an awesome answer. We're moving on to section 3, the art of Halo editing. In your opinion, what makes a great Halo montage stand out?
In my opinion, personally, it's the edit. I know that's not everyone's opinion. I know it's essentially the focus is on the gameplay, and there's a large population of people who are like, hey, gameplay over editing. I'd rather be able to see everything that's happening. I want minimal editing. I'm not quite so far as I want to see the edit overshadow the gameplay, but I want it to complement the gameplay. So I personally still want to be able to see what's going on. Like I want to be able to read the clips,
Right.
but I want the edit to make it feel seamless. Like it's an experience. Like if I'm watching the video and I kind of get engrossed in it and I don't really notice the editing, I think that's like, that really appeals to me.
And I think there's something to be said about these laid back montages. After a while, like, you can only see all these clips so many times before it all starts kind of looking the same. I feel like, I know there's some guys that like really get creative with their gameplay. Like I've seen like 360 no scopes for like multi kills and, banking shots off the ground and stuff like that. Like, and obviously Hyena, the way he does his videos, like those guys, I understand, like that is fucking awesome. But besides that, like the other videos, the gameplay seems to be a lot of the same.
Yeah, this comes back to like the social versus if you want to call it competitive, we can, but like social versus competitive gameplay where it's like, cool, yeah, you got a Killionaire, but the first 6 kills, 7 kills were just people who were running in straight lines versus
Right.
oh, you're shooting against people who are highly skilled and are shooting back to you. I like both styles. I think there's some really phenomenal social videos that, even though they are against, if you want to call them lesser opponents, like the stuff that these guys are doing in those lobbies are insane. Like,
Yeah.
like I know Fat Rat, Campy, Hyena, like those guys can thrive in a competitive environment just as much as they can in a social one. But to your point though, like that gameplay, if you threw Hyena's icicle snipe on Narrows into like a casual video that's laid back, that's kind of like just a chill video, it doesn't get as much attention as it does in like a well edited, polished video, in my opinion.
I think you're right on that. I think people definitely value the editing. And I think they value it a lot more nowadays that there's so many resources and tools available for, editors to make amazing creative pieces.
Yeah, I think the gameplay is important, but to your point, like now I feel like we've seen almost everything. There's still some creative stuff that people come up with, but I feel like the gameplay is just a means to an end to get an edit out or put a video together.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like competitive play goes, I mean, there is something to say like, oh, if you get a clip on, I'm using somebody that I know here, Walshy or something, like, and you get a good clip on somebody like that, like that's really cool. Or a high multi-kill on like, pros and stuff. Like that's still like super impressive in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it varies for everyone. You'll get a different answer if you ask 10 different people. Some people would say, cool, yeah, like that's the most important thing to me. Other people would say, I don't really care who it's against as long as the flip's good. Like I'd rather see a really cool kill tack against bots than I'd rather see like a cleanup kill tack against some pros.
Right. Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Next question is, how has the Halo editing scene changed over the years?
It's definitely become more polished over the years. But it's also, I think the population has dwindled. So I look at it, I was kind of talking about this earlier, is like I look at it in like three eras, kind of. Like there was your early Halo 2, a little bit of Halo CE, Halo 2 boom, right? The first golden era, if you want to call it that, where Halo 2 forum had contests. And I think when Halo 2 went down, then Halo 3 kind of filled its shoes. So I think that was a continuation of that first golden era.
Yeah.
And then when Reach came out, I think things kind of fell off. Like Halo stopped becoming as popular, but I think the Halo montage community for Reach really carried the torch forward. Like some of the videos that came out of that era are some of the best Halo videos probably ever made.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I feel like we hit a lull. Like I personally fell out of the community at that time because I was in college. Halo 4 came out. It wasn't quite, up to the standard I wanted it to be. And plus I was busy doing other things that I wasn't really editing. But I feel like, I'd glance in every once in a while and it kind of felt like it fell off. But when MCC re-released, I feel like we entered back into like a second golden era. Like I think some of the newer guys call it the PC era. Like when MCC hit the PC. So the videos that have come out since then have been absolutely phenomenal. Like, and they just get better. Like if you compare videos from 2014 to now, which I'd consider that window of like the PC era, the videos over the past like 5 years, 6 years have been some of the most incredible Halo videos that if they were to have been released back in 2010, they'd be bringing in hundreds of thousands.
Oh my God. Yeah. Millions of views probably.
Yeah. It's insane how much of a fall off there's been, which it's sad, but I think the group that we have that are still editing or that have been editing are honestly some of the most talented editors in probably like any gaming space.
Absolutely. I agree. What do you think there's untapped potential in the Halo editing scene, and how do you believe we can make these videos even better?
I think the pro community needs to help shepherd that forward. I went to the Halo 2 anniversary event this
You
year.
ask about that too.
Yeah, I was talking to like Strong Side and some of the old heads, and I was like, why did you guys make more videos? Like, his answer was like, hey, we were so focused on like scrimming and playing that like we didn't really take the time to record and like make videos.
Right.
Which I feel like such a missed opportunity. Like you think about building a brand as a player, like a highlight video or a montage. I feel like that. Think of Walshy. Like when you say, "Hey, who's your favorite Halo 2 pro from that era?" Like a lot of people will say Walshy. It's like, "Hey, why?" It's like, "Well, Walshy montage too."
Right.
Like carry that forward. Like it's a shame that a lot of pros, like current pros, aren't having videos done. I know Frosty does. I know Invor does. There's a couple others, but I think that's going to be one of the things that would help kind of put videos back into the zeitgeist, if you will.
Especially if you know there's so many tools now that you can use to record. I mean, there's almost like no there's I'm not gonna say there's no excuse, but there's not as big of an excuse as before where it was a kind of a headache to record, you know?
Yeah, it's not as difficult to record, but I think the trade off there is it's now harder to record angles and do some of the stuff that we had at our fingertips back in 2007.
Yeah.
And I know others have talked about it, but like it's kind of like we traded one for the other. Like it was really difficult to record back then. Um, but we had like a built-in theater system that functioned really well. And now it's the opposite. It's like it's really easy. You just press a button on your Xbox or your computer and you can record. But then when you go in the theater, it's like one of the worst things you're ever going to spend your time working with.
Yeah, I feel you on that. How do you feel? This is an interesting question. How do you feel about a montage like Sandline Wave, and what do you think is the ideal way to edit Halo?
Uh, Answering specifically about that video, that's honestly one of my favorite montages. That's the first video I can recall, like the audio sync, uh, elevating the music or like adding an additional layer to the music. I downloaded the MP3 of I think is a Tool song or a Perfect Circle song that he uses in that, and I remember downloading the MP3 to my iPod and I would listen to it on the bus. So that video is influential from like I think the audio is I think it's overlooked a lot and like what it did for some of the montages after it.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like an ideal way to edit a Halo montage, I know I was reading this question earlier and I was like, I don't know that there is an ideal way. I think it's an artistic expression, so it's really whoever's creating it really has that influence over like what the outcome's going to be. But you know, if you were to ask me like, hey, what do I think the perfect video or the more ideal video is, it's something that elevates the gameplay. So it's not something that's taking away from the footage, but it elevates it. It's angles that show things going on in the clips that it's not apparent if you were to watch the clip straight up. It's transitions that help the flow move from one clip to another. It's you know, a soundtrack that gets you super engaged, that's memorable, that like sticks with you. I think those are some of the things that kind of factor into, you know, a perfect edit, or if there's such a thing, right? A memorable edit, if you will.
Gotcha. That's a great answer. How do you balance your creative vision for a project while making the plays look as skillful and as authentic as possible?
For me, it's gameplay first, especially if it's someone coming to me to edit their footage. Um, I think my balance is I want to show the important parts of the clip, and then I'll supplement around it with footage or effects or transitions. Um, that's how I balance it. It's really a focus on showing that gameplay and not obscuring it to the point where you can't really read what's happening at this point.
Gotcha. And this is a interesting. These next two questions are interesting. Do you think frag movies could ever gain recognition in mainstream art or film communities?
I think there's probably a world where that happens. I think it would need to be an extremely popular game, and it needs to be the right person highlighting it. Um, this is a weird parallel to draw, but like think of Pokemon in like 2020 with Logan Paul wearing a Charizard around his neck coming into the Octagon.
So you need like a big time influencer.
Yeah, you need someone, and I think this is what's going to happen is like, there's a nostalgia factor with our generation. As we get older, we kind of become the ones running the show essentially. So is it a movie? Is it a TV show? Like Stranger Things, right? They reintroduce a generation back to 80s music. Is there a show or a movie that comes out that like there's a montage playing in it or something like that? Or is there another big movement where a marketing company picks it up like Dr. Pepper and they're highlighting the game again?
Gotcha.
And it may not be Halo. It might be something else. It could be Fortnite. It could be the next Fortnite. Like, I think there's opportunities for it. I think it has to be one of those like right place, right time.
Okay. And if you had to assign a cash value on one of these, like a video, what would you say? What would you assign?
That's a tough question.
Like if somebody said they commissioned you for the work, but they're gonna pay you for the actual work you're putting into the video, not like yeah.
Yeah, I've heard others answer this, and I think it's the fair monetary value that you would request someone to pay for like the number of hours you put in is not reasonable for probably how many views the video is going to get.
Yeah, but yeah.
But like if you had to assign a value to it, I mean it could be thousands of dollars. It's art. I mean it's subjective, The thing I struggle with this question is, if you were to own it, there's music involved. So other art forms, it's purely the artist creating it on a canvas, or they're creating something that they solely own. With montages, since there are, it's a game developed by a company, it's music developed by artists. It's like, could you truly own it because there's other art and media that's a part of that holistic package?
There are ways you can own it if you have if there's like a transformative like value that you've added to it, to the that it makes it something else, that makes it its own thing. But the music is definitely that's one of the biggest problems is the music, because I was watching
honestly though, like there's some guys in the community that make their own music, and I know there's artists out there that are Halo fans. So like if there was some sort of collaboration between, let's say like, okay, Zola came back and he's going to do a professional edit for the top Halo team in the world, and they're going to commission an artist, a musician, to make a song solely for that video.
Right. Yeah, that makes
sense. That could be an opportunity, like, hey, this is a very unique project that like is one of one.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea. The next section is challenges and achievements. What's been your most challenging project to date, and how did you tackle it?
I honestly, probably the the most recent edit I'm working on is my most challenging one. I had a kid 2 years ago, so like my free time has dwindled significantly. So my ability to sit down for hours and edit is gone essentially, unless I stay up late and then I'm hating my life the next day. I think, given the number of years that I've been editing and the time that I've put in, that I'm more efficient with my edits now. I know you even said, you're like, well, you did Ryda's montage in a week, and it's like I'm kind of forced to hyper focus when I sit down and like really set a small goal that I have to overcome. Like, I'm going to work on the next 30 seconds of this video today, or I'm going to do 15 seconds or this one clip or this one effect.
Right.
And really be diligent about how I tackle it, because I don't want to waste a ton of time chasing an effect or chasing something that may not look good. And it may lead me to be a little bit less creative or less I don't know, adventurous, I guess, or with like my edits, and maybe stick to some stuff that I know. But that's been the most current challenge, is not getting stuck using the same effects or the same things I've used in other videos, and trying to find creative ways to still challenge myself without the time suck that I would normally have into a project.
For sure. And have you ever faced creative burnout? How do you deal with something like that?
I hit a wall and right when Death Machine 2 came out. Hyena almost ruined my editing career. Um Unintentionally. I spent months working on Problematic 2 for Doodle Pop, and we picked a date. We were going to release it. We dropped it. It was starting to do some solid numbers, like it was getting some traction, and then I think like 24 hours later, Death Machine 2 came out, and his video had 20,000 views, and I think mine ended up with like 300.
Oh,
And I remember looking at it and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, I'm spending so much time. And I know ultimately at the end of the day, it's not about the views, but it's kind of a crappy feeling when you're like, what am I doing wrong that like I have 1/20th or 1/200th of the views of like someone else in the community.
right.
So
The attention plays a big deal, and like getting comments kind of helps fuel the person to make that next project. And
yeah, and
that,
and
so
not to take anything away from Hyena, he absolutely deserved the views. But I just remember that was a big moment. I was like, okay. I remember sitting down and being like, okay, if my next video doesn't do well, like I'm probably gonna step away.
oh,
Um, and luckily
did
I
it?
was yeah, I was able to get a video. Shaney had tapped me to edit a video for him, and he had an established fan base and people that watched him. So that was good. It was like, hey, I was kind of like a guarantee this is at least gonna get some traction when it released.
That's awesome. What do you consider your greatest achievement as a Halo editor so far?
Mm. Uh, I won a couple contests recently. That was cool because I never won any of the old Halo 2 forum contests. Part of the reason is you saw I scrapped the videos. Like I never really finished the video that I wanted to make back in the day with like my original gameplay. So I think one of my best achievements is like putting out videos that I'm proud of and um, having the community recognize that it's they agree that it is a good video.
Okay. How do you handle feedback or criticism, especially when it comes to personal projects?
I personally like feedback. I value the negative feedback more than the positive feedback.
We
Um,
were talking about this last night.
yeah, yeah. I have a sports background, so I'm used to like constructive criticism, and I don't take it too personally. Sometimes people can be a little harsh on the internet, but uh, honestly, feedback like negative feedback helped me kind of break into, I guess, my next level of editing. Like when Perfect Storm released, um, without naming who specifically, some guys in the Pock Lords group, the Halo 3 editing group, were like critiquing the video and tearing it apart essentially. And it was all criticism that I didn't want to hear at the time, and I kind of like didn't listen to it. But after I took a step back and like watched the video a few more times with the lens of like what they were sharing feedback about, like I was like, oh, there's definitely some areas of improvement here. Like I could probably go back and fix a lot of these things that I'm doing. And honestly, a lot of my more recent projects benefit from them taking the time to provide that feedback.
Absolutely. What do you believe is the hardest thing about being a Halo montage artist?
Motivation, I think, is a big one for me. I think I just mentioned with like some videos I've released, it's like I release it, I'm like, why am I doing this again? Like I probably could be spending my time doing something else, but I it's a creative outlet for me. So I always find myself drawn back to it because it's art and it allows me to sit with myself and I can make something that I'm proud of. But I think that's the hardest part is every time I sit down to do a project, it's like, what's my motivation for doing this? Is it no, is it money? Is it a project I'm doing for someone? Is it a personal project? Is it just because I want to create something, or am I chasing a trend?
Does nostalgia play at all? Any role at all?
Nostalgia played a huge role in doing projects like the reunion. That was absolutely like a passion nostalgia project because I had the opportunity to like edit with people that I grew up with either watching or like playing adjacent to,
Yeah.
but never really crossed into their circles. Like Furion, like Furion and I knew each other back in the day. Everyone knew Furion from his videos, but like to be able to flip the script and be like, oh, I'm editing for Furion now was a cool opportunity. And I've been able to do a couple of videos recently where I've been able to edit for players that I didn't think I'd probably ever edit for.
You've edited for a lot of legends.
Yeah, so it's been it's been cool. A lot of times that I'm like, do I really want to take on an edit? I'll have someone reach out that has a pretty big name that I grew up playing with or always wanted to edit for, and it kind of gives me a little bit of motivation to take that project on.
That's so cool. The next section is advice and future vision, and then we're pretty much done. What advice would you give to aspiring editors in the Halo or general gaming montage scene?
Make as many projects, make as many videos as you can. I think I'll be afraid to fail. Just make it, release it, or make it, scrap it, start over. Like, I think a lot of time when you're starting out, it's overwhelming. And I think the best thing you do is just kind of put something together and release it. But honestly, a lot of the guys that have been starting out, at least in the Halo 2 community, or Halo community in general, like some of their first edits are so good. Like you'll see a guy pop up every once in a while and you're like, where did you come from? And why are you already so much better than anything I did for the first like 12 years of my Halo editing career?
Yeah. They're taking performance enhancing drugs for video editing. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. There's some secret tutorial that's circulating within like a group that they're following.
Yeah. This is the next question. How do you think AI tools and new technologies will impact editing in the future?
I think as long as this uses a tool, it's fine. I think someone was mentioning like, rotoscoping is going to use AI. It's like smart scoping. I don't see it taking away from the edit if it's something that can make the job faster. I think where AI comes into issue with it is if you're using it to replace. I think you use the word with like the authentic experience. If you're using it, if you're over relying on it to do a lot of the work for you, I think you lose a lot of the soul of the art form.
Yeah.
But I absolutely believe AI is going to be a net positive tool. It's just how you use it.
I think we might be safe from like complete AI automation. I don't know if they're going to be able to recreate like an actual like scene from a Halo montage, especially with the HUD and all that stuff. It sounds
maybe
impossible.
I'm not technical enough, but I could see like if you set up a scene in like Blender or Unreal Engine, like are there scripts that you could create that could like mock up a scene? What would be really cool is if you could take this would be phenomenal. I know Counter-Strike kind of has this, but like if you could take a Halo 2 clip and use AI to recreate that in a 3D program that you could then alter and edit yourself, like that would be.
I didn't even think about that. That didn't even cross my mind. That would be so dope.
Like, imagine if you could do depth maps on Halo 2 and like angles, dolly cams, like you set up a scene and kind of just like,
yeah,
you can edit it and make it look like it's an engine. Like that'd be so cool.
The next question is, are there any projects that you want to share that you're working on right now?
Yeah, currently working on the Imperfect Storm, which is a follow-up to the Perfect Storm with Stormy B2 and Hurricane. That should be releasing probably in the next month or two. Trying to get it out before the end of the first quarter of this year.
Oh man, I'm super excited to see that. That's what you shared with me, like the screenshots, right?
Yeah, that's the screenshots from that video.
Oh man, okay, I'm excited to watch that, man. When do you think
Yeah,
it'll be
but
out?
I probably March is kind of what I'm aiming for.
Okay, so like in a month and a half.
Yeah, it's close. It's I think I have like maybe 4 or 5 angles left to do. Then I have to go back through and do my After Effects pass and do audio. But it's pretty close to done.
Hell yeah, dude. Um, where do you see yourself in the Halo montage community in 5 years?
I don't know. I was talking to the other guys. I want to do Reunion 3. Um, I want to do one last video with that group. And some guys are kind of bowed out. They're not going to have footage, or if they do, it's going to be just leftover stuff. But I'm currently recruiting for that. So if there are any old heads from the Halo 2 forum or that want to join, I definitely would be interested in having them. But beyond that, I don't know. I do commissions every once in a while. I've done some work for HCS whenever they tap me on the shoulder, like their YouTube team. So I'll stay involved. It's just, I think it's really going to be dependent upon the next Halo. I thought with Infinite I was going to get back into it. They were promising a phenomenal theater system. You could file share with people, and I was excited about it. I did like a short little teaser edit. I took the trailer they announced and kind of made it into like a montage type song.
Yeah.
And it got like 80,000 views, and I was like, okay, like we're like, this is the time. Like I can use my
Wow.
everything I've learned over the past 15 years, and maybe I could kind of break out a little bit with like Infinite, and then the game just kind of was a dud, and it didn't happen. So
It's so disappointing.
it is. It's disappointing. I commend the guys that are still editing it. But yeah, I'm hoping the next one has more traction.
Well, they're recreating the first 3.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know that I'll stop editing. I think the projects will probably become a little bit further between.
Yeah. And what do you think will be the biggest challenges we will face as a community in the future?
I think the new talent coming in, I think replacing those who left is always going to be, that's a challenge in any community as it cycles through. I think there's some opportunity. There's been some injection of new blood over the past few years, like Zitrupio, Keys. I've seen some new names popping up that have been really, really, really good editors, really good players, and they're 10, 15 years younger than us. So I think that's going to be the continuation, is there has to be new people coming in, or else as people age, as life happens, more people will slowly start stepping away from this.
Right. And last question is, what kind of final wisdom would you like to impart on those listening right now?
I think at the end of the day, the videos are personal, and they're a memento for the player that's making them. So if you're an editor that's doing a personal edit for someone, like, I think keep that in mind, that you're editing for someone that they're going to look back on. They might show their kids, or they might pop it in 10 years from now and reminisce on it. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you're editing for someone, like, I would value their input and edit it the way that they want. If you're doing a personal edit for yourself, that you're trying something new, I think keep challenging yourself every time you do a video, whether it's a new effect, a new program, a new style. I think just don't be afraid to try it.
Amazing answer. This is last questions here. I lied. How would you explain what the Halo montage community is to like a total stranger? What it's like?
I don't know. I'd probably explain it like how there's card meetups where everyone gets together and kind of shows off their card to each other. It's kind of the same thing. As there's a community of people that play Halo that spend time collecting their best clips. They kind of pull it together into a stylized video that they share with each other, and it kind of becomes this niche community of people appreciating the game, and also the editing, kind of pushing each other to make better and better videos.
Okay. And do you have anyone you'd like to shout out? Any questions for me?
Oh man, my shout out list is gonna be a little bit long, so bear with me here for a second. Um, I named a bunch of guys early on that I took influence on when I first started, but I think when I came back in 2014, Ansel from the COD community, Furion, Muggsy, Hastings, Skulls, was a lot of credit to him. Kind of got me back into editing. He stood up Lost in Time when MCC had dropped, which was the montage group, and had tapped me on the shoulder to edit for them. And I think that's probably really what got the hooks back into me to get me editing again. Haunt, Player 2, GTS has been a huge inspiration, and been working with him a lot. Even recently, a lot of people probably don't know this, but I talk to GTS like probably weekly at this point, sharing renders with him and just discussing ideas. I have a running joke that I'm like his ghost editor for some projects, because he tells me, he's like, I can't edit Halo 2 anymore, but like I can share ideas and you can execute on those.
What do you think? Why do you think he can't edit anymore?
He released such a top tier video with Ill Composed that I think he wants to surpass it. And I don't know if you've experienced this when you stepped away and you kind of came back into editing, but it's different, right? It's like things have changed. Skills maybe aren't quite where they were, or maybe it takes him a little bit longer to get where he wants in an edit. And I think he also edits he edits for his professional job. So I imagine there's an element there where he's like, I don't have the time to spend doing this to get it to the level I want it to be.
Gotcha. I'd love to see another GTS edit.
Man, I've been trying to get him. To do it. I've offered to help him finish videos, like just little stuff that can kind of help make his life easier.
You know, that editor's block is real, man. Like,
It's
real.
He's got great ideas though. Like you give him a 30-second snippet of a song and he'll come up with some of the most creative shit you've seen yet. So yeah, I really wish he'd do an edit. He's been really fun to work with behind the scenes. Maybe I can get him to do a little section for Reunion 3. But.
Be interesting, or he could do like a teaser just to get him to get something out there, because you know, like, I think that would kind of create some momentum for him.
Yeah, he has a really bad habit of deleting projects. I've yelled at him for it multiple times, but he'll get like 50% of a project done, and then he'll hate it and then sit on it for 6 months, and he just gets like frustrated one day and deletes it.
And we were talking about this, where people have their stuff unlisted and privated and things like that. Why do you think we do that? I did that too, and I'm wondering to myself, why the hell did I even do that?
Okay, so my answer might be different from others, but when I came back in 2014 and kind of like stood my YouTube channel up, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to update and upload my old stuff, right? So I did. And then as new stuff came out that I was making, I remember someone saying like, hey, like no one's here to watch your old stuff, so you should just unlist all of that. Like people now only want to see what's currently coming out.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's part of it, is like maybe when you put your YouTube together or your channel, it's like, I just want to show the best of stuff or like the more popular stuff. I think as time has gone on, I think it might change where it's like, yeah, I'll throw it back up there, because I don't mind if it's there at this point. It's not going to dilute like my playlist of videos to choose from.
Okay. Yeah, for me it was like I would something would tell me to go and unprivate the video, and then I would unprivate random videos, then go on about my day, come back like 7 months later, years later, private those, unprivate different ones. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I know for me, it was just I did it as like a cleanup, uh, just to make like I was like I just kind of picked a date, some arbitrary date. I was like, okay, all the videos from here forward, like I'll keep on the channel, and everything else, I'll unlist and I'll keep it there, and like I'll go back and watch it for myself if I want. But I don't know. It's you open your YouTube and it's like, hey, this video has a couple thousand, this one has a couple thousand, and you like look at these, like this one has 23 views, this one has 6 views. You're like, why do I have this listed? So it's like taking up space. So I think that's part of it for me is I just took them down.
Uh, is there anybody else you want to shout out? And then
Yeah. So I think when I first came back, Silly Goose, CJ New, What Time, Be Sick were like some guys that I really paid attention to their edits and took some inspiration from. And some of the modern guys, Zestel, Sites, Omniscience, Bradick, Puba, Noob Slayer, Trukio. I know Reflections has gotten a lot of love in these podcasts. I've talked to him a lot recently. A lot of the newer guys, I'm a huge fan of their stuff. I was telling you, like I watch some of these videos that come out and I'm like, wow, like I still have so far to go. Like some of these guys are doing some insane stuff.
who's somebody that you would say keep an eye out on?
He was mentioned in another podcast. I think the last one you just did. Keys Open Doors, his video that he did was honestly is one of the coolest Halo 2 edits I've seen recently.
Yeah, I agree.
Broy surprised me with his last video. Bro, I don't think he's getting a lot of love and attention. I think Halo 2's community is a little bit small at this point.
I love his last couple edits. I think it was Insomnia or Insomnia 2 that he did, where he synced up like almost every single pistol shot. It was fucking nuts.
Yeah, I was joking with him when I was watching it. I was like, okay, who edited this for you? Because it was like such a step up from his other video. Other videos that I've seen, it's like, dude, like he got really good really quick. So yeah, I think he's one to keep an eye out for. I don't know what his plans are with more Halo content, but those are two guys that kind of jump off top of mind. I think Reflections, everyone. I don't know if you call him up and coming anymore. I feel like he's kind of established himself, being like a trailblazer with Halo Infinite. But I know if you ask him, he'd say he's still refining some stuff and trying to work on his skill set. So I'm excited to see where he evolves to. So I think he has tremendous potential.
Yeah, absolutely. He's amazing. I was gonna ask one last thing, and then we can wrap things up. Yeah, if you can tell Gabe to come on the podcast, I'd love to have him. Love to have him and discuss montage theories and stuff like that. There's so many questions I want to ask him. So
Yeah, I'll let him know. He's in Hawaii right now until tomorrow.
oh, lucky.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for him to review my render and tell me what's wrong with it.
All right, Zentz, thank you so much for coming on, man. You're a fucking legend, dude. And this was an amazing experience. So much, you dropped so much wisdom, and I'm absolutely honored to have you on. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, dude, thanks for having me. Like, I enjoy these. It's really cool hearing all the other editors kind of speak about their experience and their perspective. So I'm excited to hear more. I hope people keep doing them. And I'll definitely reach out to Gabe and put a word in, see if we can get him on here.
Yeah, and tell Furion to do the podcast too. I've been trying to get him on, and he said he'd do it, and then now he backed out for a little bit. So
Furion has like a you can ask Zatrukio about this. He has like a 6-month window where you have to bug him every Wednesday or multiple times a week for 6 months, and then you would get him to do it.
okay, thank you.
Well,
All right,
yeah.
see ya.
See you, man.